Back here on WHIP, Philly's #1 college radio station, my next guest is the voice of the NBA playoffs on ESPN, but more importantly, he is the heart and soul of the Fordham Communications program, and that's Mike Breen. Mike, Zach Gelb here. How you doing?
Hi, Zach. That's nice of you to say, but I think there are a lot of heart and souls at the Fordham station before me, that's for sure.
Well, I will have to say this. What's up with your basketball team? Because the Temple Owls killed them when they played Fordham this year.
Well, I wouldn't be too brazen yet, Zach, with the comments because we signed the best recruiting class in a while. So how about we hold on this discussion until, let's say, mid-March next year when Fordham is the surprise team of the Atlantic 10.
I'll definitely hold you to that, but let's first get to the Spurs-Memphis series before we get to Game 7 tonight. I guess you were a little bit shocked that this went only 4 games in this series?
Absolutely. Zach, I mean, they're two evenly matched teams for the most part, and even though it was a sweep, I know it sounds corny to say, but it was closer than a 4-game series because you had the 2 overtime games that if Memphis had just hit 1 or 2 free throws or made one less turnover, it could have turned into a classic long series. But you have to credit San Antonio. They showed it at crunch time when it mattered most, when you needed poise and experience. There's a reason why they are who they are, and the Spurs were magnificent.
I had the Spurs going to the finals last year, and they fell just a little bit short, losing to OKC in another thrilling series. And the one downfall, the one knock that you've heard of the Spurs as of late is, can they survive a long series? And the NBA Finals should be another long series, but I'd have to imagine that this rest is good for the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, Zach, some coaches don't like this long a break, and I think it's what's going to be 9 days in between Game 4 of the conference final and Game 1 of the finals. So that's probably too long for most coaches. But Manu Ginobili had been banged up for much of the year at hamstring and other foot problems, and he's healthy. And obviously Tim Duncan can use some rest. So if they can shake off the rust for Game 1, they'll certainly be well rested. I think they're fine to go. Plus the finals, you go Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. It's going to start on a Thursday. So even after Game 1, you get 2 days off before Game 2. So I think they'll be in good shape to have no problems in terms of fatigue.
And Tony Parker really has taken his game to the next level. He was sensational in that Memphis series. He was just doing it from all parts of the floor.
Yeah, Zach, he's become a great player. He's always been really good, and I think it's his 12th year now. To see him continue to improve, and as Duncan and Ginobili have gotten older and can't be the big time scorers that they once were, Parker has taken over. And you look from when he first came into the league to now, he's actually a knockdown shooter. Even makes an occasional 3. But nobody's better at the pick and roll, I think, than Parker. I mean, Derrick Rose is very good at it, but Tony Parker might be the best pick and roll point guard in the league right now.
While we're talking about point guards, and Tony Parker has been absolutely brilliant in the playoffs, I just saw a few moments ago that Jason Kidd retired, and when I think of Jason Kidd growing up as a Nets fan my whole life, I think of the word versatility because every night he could bring a triple-double to the court. How will you remember Jason Kidd as he steps away after 19 great years?
The ultimate winner would do anything to help his team win. And, the versatility that you talk about is so true that, he was a great passer in the court vision, what you want in a point guard. But he was also, up until a few years ago, he was one of the best defensive guards in the league. He was also one of the best rebounding point guards to ever play the game. So he did so much for his team, his leadership. You ask all the guys on the Dallas Mavericks when they won the championship in 2011, they point to Kidd as being the key to that team as much as Nowitzki was because of his leadership and how he would do anything to win. So it's a great career that will wind up, he'll get in the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, there's no question.
Zach Gelb here with you on WHIP Radio in Philadelphia, talking to Mike Breen. And Mike, we have a Game 7 tonight, Pacers going up against the Heat. If I were to tell you before this series started, and I picked the Heat to win this thing in 6, that this was going to a Game 7, what would you have said?
Well, Zach, I make a lot of bad predictions in my time, but I did think this was going to go 7. And it wouldn't surprise me if Indiana or Miami won tonight. They're very evenly matched, and the fact that Dwayne Wade is clearly not close to being 100% really makes it even more even. So credit Indiana with an incredible defensive performance. And let's see now if LeBron can lift his team. But I can't wait to watch the game tonight. I think it's going to be just an extraordinary game in terms of, can LeBron carry his team again to the finals? Can Wade and Bosh shake off either injuries or inconsistent play? Can Indiana find the key guy down the stretch? I mean, there's just so many cool storylines. I can't wait for the game.
Can you ever remember a player being as much pressure on his shoulders as LeBron James right now? Because he's doing it all by himself.
Yeah, you know what? He had more pressure last year. The fact that he's won a championship now, I think it's not as much. I thought last year was the year we had the pressure. And if you remember last year, Zach, they were trailing in the conference finals last year, 3-2 against Boston, and we're going into Boston for Game 6 facing elimination. And he had that 45-point, 15-rebound game, and then carried him in Game 7 and on to the finals victory against Oklahoma City. So last year, when he was still without a ring, I thought that was the pressure. There's still pressure on him because he wants to win multiple titles, but nothing like last year.
And like you mentioned, Wade and Bosh haven't been the best of their abilities in this series, and they get Chris Andersen back. What does the Birdman bring to this team coming off that suspension?
Well, he brings size, he brings rebounding, and he brings defense. Exactly what they need. And him not being there in Game 6 was very costly for them because he, against a team that is so big and physical like Indiana, you have to have all your front court components. And he blew it. He hurt his team by losing his temper and committing a ridiculous foul. And now it'd be interesting to see how badly he wants to kind of make up for that.
We're talking to Mike Breen, the voice of the NBA playoffs on ESPN. And Mike, you look at this Pacers team, some people would say a young group like this is a big task going into Miami to win a Game 7. But I think that this team has all the confidence in the world, especially with their performances in Game 1 and 2 in Miami.
Yeah, they think they can win. That's half the battle. They don't fear the Miami Heat. And Indiana, they think they're the better team. And quite frankly, so far in the series, they've played better. They've been the better team. They've been the hungrier team. A couple of extraordinary performances from LeBron have kept Miami from even losing the series earlier. But you can't count out a player of LeBron James's magnitude. You don't know tonight, is he going to look and try and score 40 points, or is he going to look and try and get 18 assists and get everybody involved, because he does both equally well. So again, it's a matchup tonight that any Game 7 is fantastic, but with all the stakes on this one, it really makes it exciting.
Pacers just really take after their head coach and Frank Vogel. He's very confident inside those huddles, and Paul George and Roy Hibbert have been the two big players for the Pacers. But what's one thing that Eric Spoelstra and his squad will have to do defensively tonight on both Paul George and Roy Hibbert if they want to win this game?
Well, I think, quite honestly, defensively, Miami's played pretty well overall. I think their problem has been on the offensive end, where they just haven't been able to get that ball movement that was so vital for them during the regular season and during that 27-game win streak. So defensively, obviously come and play hard and play the way they normally play, but I think offense is the key for Miami. Can they get back to the ball movement where, the ball's whipping around and getting wide open threes? And, obviously they got to knock some down. I mean, Battier and Ray Allen have really struggled from downtown, so somebody's got to start hitting them. But that's who they are, and that's what they have to get back to.
We're talking to Mike Breen. And Mike, final question right before we let you run. Let's just say early on in this game, it's clear that Wade and Bosh aren't showing up to the table tonight like they've done in previous games of this series. Give me one player other than LeBron that will need to step up tonight in this imperative Game 7.
Well, Zach, that's a good question, and I think the guy that Miami can look to, because he's done it in big games in the past, both in the NBA and in college, and that's Mario Chalmers. Chalmers is fearless. He's a very confident player. He thinks he should be taking the last shot, no matter who's his teammate. And he is not a guy that wilts under the pressure. So I look for Mario Chalmers to have a big game for Miami tonight.
Well, Mike, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much, and let's do it again real soon.
Okay, Zach. Nice talking to you.
Mike Breen right there, the voice of the NBA playoffs. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back right after these short messages.